Look, so far the signs are showing that every time an explosion or an operation that has been attributed to Israel has been, in terms of operational wise and tactical wise, it's been, as according to foreign newspaper sources, a phenomenal success. But in the current ongoing struggle with Iran, you can't think tactically. You have to think strategically. You have to think the big picture. Let's just assume for a moment that Israel was behind all these attacks. Has it fulfilled and has it achieved our strategic goal of slowing down Iran's nuclear program or even stopping it? Forget about stopping it, just slowing it down. All the signs show that no, it hasn't. And this is what the Americans are saying. It's one thing to smuggle documents out of Tehran, as the Mossad did, and it greatly contributed to our understanding of Iran's nuclear program. But the operations that have been attributed to Israel, although they tell the Iranian regime that, yes, Israel has a very good understanding of what is happening inside Iran, the operations in themselves that have been attributed to Israel have so far not even brought Iran to the nuclear negotiation table. To make matters worse, the Iranians have pushed on. So I think there is merit in terms of what the Americans are saying, yes.
Right, so the question really is, how is it that the Iranian nuclear capabilities have increased after the sabotage? Is it because it gives the Iranians cover to rebuild those facilities to be more effective, or is it because the Iranians then basically say, you know what, our facilities are being sabotaged, we can go ahead and increase our uranium enrichment? Is it diplomatic? Because it seems that the Iranians, anyway, they didn't really care about the various clauses in the agreement and would break them if they could under cover. So how is this possible exactly?
Look, on the one hand, Iran, as the documents from the Mossad showed that they brought from Tehran, Iran had been hiding the plans to make a nuclear weapon. And you have these plans because you want to at least have the option of making it. And that in itself is illegal. That is correct. But on the other hand, to carry out, to continue the struggle against Iran for now, you have to understand that when there's an attack, when there's an action, there's a counteraction. The Iranian regime cannot fire missiles at Israel in retaliation for these attacks. The Iranian regime it can, but it could lead to war, and that's not what it wants to. The Iranian regime feels humiliated at home because of these attacks. The Iranian regime feels that these attributed attacks to Israel are a major blow, and if it leaves on such attacks unanswered, then that's going to make it look weak at home, and it's also going to encourage further such attacks by. But
what was keeping the Iranians in check before the attacks from improving their nuclear capabilities anyway?
Before it was the JCPOA. The JCPOA was keeping them in check. Whether you agree with the JCPOA or not, what we know is that the agreement kept Iran under control, kept the Iranian, and even the documents by the Mossad showed that Iran had not broken the JCPOA.
But some of these attacks took place after the U.S. exited the deal already, though.
Correct. And Iran was taking counter actions against the U.S. leaving the deal. But it seems, judging by the results so far, that actions attributed to Israel have led to an increase in the acceleration of Iran moving away from the JCPOA. And this is not what we want. Look, you or I, we don't want to nuclear Iran. That's absolutely positive. And you and I, would view Iranian nuclear program as a danger. That's very true. But we cannot dismiss the option. We cannot dismiss the possibility that, of course, Israel has a right to defend itself. But we cannot dismiss the possibility that some of these operations attributed to Israel, taken during Netanyahu, had domestic political goals. Because Mr. Netanyahu, of course, he also doesn't want nuclear weapon Iran, nor does Meretz. But we cannot dismiss the possibility that these options were undertaken in Iran, attributed to Israel, in order to boost Mr. Netanyahu's domestic standing. Because nobody's trying to undermine Israeli power here. But again, we have to have a goal. Mr. Netanyahu was not blind to the fact that every time there was these attacks attributed to Israel, the acceleration.
Certainly, Meir, there's political considerations here from both sides, from the Israeli side and from the Iranian side. They're having an effect here on the outcome. Thank you very much.